CK, when she was giving her presentation, noted the fact that 70% of people bring their phones to bed. They also tell us that if you have an iPhone and you bring your phone to bed, that more than 25% of you, the very last thing you do at night, after you've said good night, if there's someone next to you, is to pick up your cell phone and check into a social network. And 25% of you, the moment you wake up in the morning, the first thing you do is reach over, grab that phone, and check into a social network. We have this incredible marriage of mobile and social. And what makes social so compelling? I think it goes to something fundamental, and the something fundamental is that we all crave connections that are authentic and relevant. And that's what social media gives us. And for those who say, well, what about MySpace? What if that happens to Facebook or to Twitter? It really doesn't matter. Because the mega trend is that social media is here to stay. Our ability to connect, our ability to share content in real time is here to stay. And for those of you who are marketers, it gives you this incredible ability to create a beacon for your brand, because people are listening intently for what's relevant to them. That, I think, is the mega trend. I want to touch on as well, I know a number of speakers have mentioned games, and I know a lot of marketers will say, we're marketers. We really don't care about games. Care about games because we're in the age of gamification, because a whole generation of people are growing up accustomed to getting rewards for their attention, for having fun and having competition in everything they do. And you'll notice that a lot of these games are integrated with marketing and ads. And so as you think of your next marketing strategy, I think you want to think about gamification. Your average gamer isn't a little kid. Your average gamer is a 40-something-year-old mom. The most intensive gamers are people in their early 30s. And believe me, talk to any very young person and find out how much time they're spending on games. It is staggering. So gamification is about taking the framework of games, that status, that rewards, to create brand loyalty and brand awareness, and think about integrating it, because it certainly is a mega trend. I promised that I would talk a little bit about the Internet of Things as perhaps the next big mega trend. The Internet of Things is a concept in which things will also be connected to our virtual world. Physical things will be connected to our virtual world. You're probably already familiar with the lead technology that makes this happen, and it's called radio frequency identification tags. And if you have an Easy Pass in your car, that's an example of a RFID tag that lets you travel seamlessly without stopping at a toll. And you might say, well, that's a pretty big, bulky sort of technology. How is that going to really help us do anything? Scientists have already used RFID tags in a nano way to glue them onto ants and track what's happening with ants. Again, well, what does this all have to do with us? On April 6th, the European Union announced the Internet of Things privacy framework. And it was kind of odd that they called it the privacy framework, because if you took a look at it, it is a voluntary framework, and in the language of it all, it said, and this should make clear to the industries that are using this, that they're not going to run afoul of our privacy laws, because the European Union has taken the lead on internet privacy, online privacy, and is far ahead of the United States. They're making privacy by default mandatory, and yet they've said as to these RFID tags that they really are not going to run afoul of those privacy rules, and the industry will be able to self-regulate itself. So what's happening with these RFID tags? In the apparel industry alone, they're looking at putting about 750 million of them in clothing this year alone. And how are these things being used? Well, the European Union, when it provided its announcement, it gave an example. It said, well, now your suitcase will be able to tell us if it's going on the wrong plane. And maybe your shirt will be able to tell us where you are. I mean, it raises some serious privacy concerns, but it also, it's what's happening. There are going to be, this year alone, about 2.8 billion RFID tags put into the commerce stream. And at the New York Marathon, they gave an example of, well, how are you going to integrate that with social? And they showed runners who had agreed to put one of these tags in their sneakers, and they had family members who couldn't make it to the marathon put together video testimonials. So as they ran over something like that, on a large screen appeared from family members something cheering them on. And so to help you understand how an RFID tag is different than a barcode you can do just one screen at a time. With the RFID tags, you can scan these thousands en masse, bulk reading of these tags. And it can be in someone's purse, or it can be in a cargo van. IBM has a commercial in which they show a big truck being stopped, and someone's saying to the truck driver, you're on the wrong route. And they say, well, how did you know that? They said, well, because your cargo told us you're supposed to be going here and you're going there. So when we think about or hear the phrase, the Internet of Things, and you say, what the heck does that mean? It means that we're already at a point in which physical things are being connected to the real world. And how those applications are put into use is something that marketers will need to play with. But I can assure you, it's far more than simply keeping track of your inventory. And at the same time that we're seeing that explosion of technology being used, Google announced that they're no longer going to be using the QR codes in their places. And it seems to a lot of us that that's just heralding the fact that their next version of their phone will likely have what's called near-field connection, which allows you to just, rather than having to take out an app and focus it on a QR code, you just kind of get it near one of these digital tags, and it will do the same thing. So much of what we see in social media is being driven by this incredible new technology in so many different ways. And we see that the world around us just keeps moving faster and faster. But I would say, don't worry about the fact that you can't keep track of all the technologies as fast as they're moving. Understand the core principle, which is that social media, the ability to us to listen intently and connect with things that are relevant to us, is here to stay, and it's the real magic of social media. Thank you.